Hey everyone, welcome back. Today we're starting a three-part series on the top 3 true Christmas horror stories. These are real events that turn the most wonderful time of the year into pure nightmare fuel. No fiction, no urban legends, just cold, hard facts that'll make you rethink those family gatherings. Part 1 takes us to 1929, rural North Carolina. The Lawson family massacre. A father who wiped out his entire family on Christmas Day. Let's dive in. Charles Davis Lawson was a tobacco farmer in Germantown, Stokes County. Born in 1886, he married Fanny Manring in 1911. They had 8 kids, but one died young, leaving 7. Arthur, 19, Marie, 17, Carrie, 12, Maybelle, 7, James, 4, Raymond, 2, and baby Mary Lou, 4 months. Life was tough as sharecroppers, but by 1927, Charlie bought his own farm on Brook Cove Road. Things seemed to be looking up. His brothers lived nearby, family was close. But in the weeks before Christmas 1929, Charlie did something odd. He took the whole family into town for new clothes and a professional portrait. Back then, that was a big expense. The photo shows them all dressed up. Charlie and Fanny in the center, kids around them. It's eerie now knowing what happened. Christmas Day arrives. Arthur, the oldest, is sent on an errand for shotgun shells. While he's gone, Charlie grabs his 12-gauge and starts the killing. First, he ambushes Carrie and Maybelle as they walk to a relative's house. Shoots them, bludgeons them to make sure, drags bodies to the barn, crosses their arms like in prayer, puts rocks under their heads. Back at the house, he shoots Fanny on the porch. Inside, Marie screams. He hunts down the little boys hiding, shoots Marie, then James and Raymond. Finally bludgeons baby Mary Lou in her cradle. Then Charlie walks into the woods. Paces circles around a tree for hours. Footprints found later, before shooting himself. Arthur returns to chaos. His whole family gone in one afternoon. Why, theories abound. One, a head injury from months earlier changed him. But autopsy showed nothing. The darker one, incest. Rumors Charlie abused Marie, maybe got her pregnant. Fanny knew. The portrait and massacre were to silence the secret forever. Books like White Christmas, Bloody Christmas detail whispers from relatives and friends. Aftermath was macabre. The farm became a tourist spot. People paid to see the blood-stained house. Marie's raisin cake left out as a souvenir. Bodies buried together, even Charlie. The story inspired ballads, podcasts, even haunted investigations. Arthur survived till 1945, died in a car crash. This hits hard because it's Christmas. Supposed to be joy, not annihilation. What do you think drove Charlie? Comment below. Stick around for part 2. Like and subscribe if this chilled you. In part 2, the 2008 Covina Massacre. A guy dressed as Santa turns a Christmas Eve party into a slaughterhouse. Covina, California, quiet suburb. The Ortega family is having their annual Christmas Eve gathering at Joseph and Alicia, Ortega's home. About 25 people there, kids, grandkids, relatives. Festive vibes, gifts, food. But outside waits Bruce Pardo, 45, ex-husband of Sylvia Ortega Pardo, 43. They married in 2006, divorced messy in 2008. Bruce lost his job, owed spousal support, felt humiliated. He planned revenge meticulously. Rented cars, bought guns, built a flamethrower from an air compressor filled with racing fuel, dressed as Santa to get in easy. 11:30 p.m., he knocks. An 8-year-old opens. Excited for Santa, Bruce shoots her in the face. She survived. Then opens fire inside. Kills 9, Sylvia, her parents Joseph and Alicia, siblings Charles, James, Cherie, Teresa, Alicia, and nephew Michael. Close-range shots, chaos. Then ignites the fuel. House erupts in flames. Survivors escape, one jumps from window. Bruce burned badly. Drives 40 miles to his brother's house. Suicides there. Suit melted to skin, more bombs in his car. Motive clear. Revenge on Sylvia and her family for the divorce. Community shattered. House demolished. Remembered as the Santa Claus killer. This one's recent, shows how bitterness can explode during holidays. Thoughts and comments. Here we are at the end of this chilling ride. We've already covered 2 heartbreaking Christmas tragedies. The 1929 Lawson family massacre in North Carolina, where Charlie Lawson wiped out his wife and 6 of his 7 children on Christmas Day itself, leaving only his oldest son Arthur to discover the horror. Then the 2008 Covina Massacre, where Bruce Pardo, dressed as Santa Claus, stormed a Christmas Eve party and killed 9 people before burning the house down in a revenge-fueled rampage. Both stories showed us how secrets, shame, and rage can explode during the holidays. But what we're about to cover now, this one takes it to another level. This is the deadliest family annihilation in U.S. history. 16 people murdered, 14 of them his own family, over the course of Christmas week. 1987, the man responsible spent days living among the bodies, surrounded by unopened presents. This is the story of Ronald Gene Simmons. Ronald Gene Simmons was born in 1940 in Chicago. His father died when he was just 3, leaving his mother to struggle raising him and his siblings. The family moved around a lot before settling in Arkansas. Simmons had a rough childhood. He was bullied for being poor and took out his anger on his younger brothers and sisters. At 17, he dropped out of high school and joined the Navy. Later, he transferred to the Air Force, served in Vietnam, earned several medals, including the Bronze Star, and retired in 1979 as a Master Sergeant. On the surface, he looked like a disciplined, accomplished veteran. In 1960, at age 20, he married 15-year-old Rebecca Becky Ulibarri. Over the next 2 decades, they had 7 children: Jean, Billy, Eddie, Marianne, Becky Jr., Sheila, and the youngest, Sylvia. But Sylvia's birth carried a terrible secret that would poison the entire family. Simmons was not just strict, he was tyrannical. He isolated his family completely. No telephone in the house. No visitors allowed. Becky wasn't permitted to wear makeup or nice clothes. The children had no friends, no outside activities. They lived on remote rural properties, first in Cloudcroft, New Mexico, then later in Dover, Arkansas. Simmons forced the kids to do grueling manual labor, beat them for the smallest mistakes, and kept all the food locked in a separate room that only he could access. Neighbors rarely saw the family. They lived like prisoners. The darkest truth was sexual abuse. In 1981, authorities in New Mexico accused Simmons of repeatedly raping his 17-year-old daughter, Sheila. She became pregnant by him and gave birth to a baby girl named Sylvia. Child Protective Services intervened. But before formal charges could be fully processed, Simmons packed up the entire family and fled to Arkansas. There, Sylvia was raised as just another sibling, while the abuse and the secret ate away at everyone. By late 1987, the family lived on a 14-acre property called Mockingbird Hill outside Dover, Arkansas. It was rundown. A couple of trailers, no indoor plumbing, just outhouses. Simmons worked odd jobs but spent most of his time at home enforcing his control. Some of the older children had managed to move out and start their own lives. But Becky had finally had enough. She was secretly planning to divorce him and had been writing letters to relatives about leaving. The kids still at home encouraged her. Simmons discovered those letters. That was the breaking point. The killings began on Tuesday, December 22nd, 1987, 3 days before Christmas. Simmons waited until the house was quiet. He shot his wife, Becky, in the head with a .22 caliber pistol while she was in the kitchen. Then he shot their 20-year-old son, Gene Jr., next. He strangled Gene's young daughter, Barbara, who was visiting. He had forced the children weeks earlier to dig a large pit in the backyard, claiming it was for a new outhouse. Now he used it as a mass grave, dumping the 3 bodies inside and covering them with dirt, boards, and barbed wire. When the 4 younger children came home from school that afternoon, Simmons was waiting at the door. As each one walked in, Loretta, 17, Eddie, 14, Marianne, 11, and Rebecca, 8, he shot them point blank. All 4 were dumped into the same pit and buried. That night, Simmons sat alone in the silent house, drinking beer and watching television as if nothing had happened. For the next 3 days, the outside world had no idea. The family had no phone, no close neighbors who would check in. Christmas Eve and Christmas Day passed quietly for everyone else. Then came Saturday, December 26th, the day after Christmas. The remaining adult children arrived for planned holiday visits, expecting food, gifts, and family time. First to arrive were son Billy, 26, his wife Renata, 24, and their 20-month-old son Trey. Simmons greeted them warmly at the door, then shot Billy, strangled Renata, and smothered little Trey. Later that afternoon, daughter Sheila, 24, arrived with her husband, Dennis McNulty, 28, and their 2 children, Sylvia, 7, Simmons' own daughter, granddaughter, and baby Michael, 1. Simmons shot Dennis, strangled Sheila, then killed the 2 children. In 4 days, 14 family members were dead. Simmons arranged the bodies with chilling care. In one trailer, he laid the adults on tables and covered them with coats. In the other, he lined up the children in beds, still wearing the clothes. They died some still in school, uniforms from days earlier. He placed unopened Christmas presents around them. Then, for the next 2 full days, he lived among the corpses, eating, drinking beer, watching TV, keeping his macabre vigil. But Simmons still wasn't done. On Monday, December 28th, he drove into nearby Russellville in Pope County. He walked into places he had worked years before and settled old grudges. At a law office, he shot and killed receptionist Kathy Kendrick, 35, a woman who had once rejected his romantic advances. At an oil company, he killed J.D. Chaffin, E34, and wounded 2 others. He also shot at former bosses and acquaintances, injuring several more. Finally, he walked into the Russellville police station and surrendered without resistance, reportedly telling officers, "I've come to get everybody who wanted to hurt me." When police searched Mockingbird Hill, they discovered the horror: 7 bodies in the pit, badly decomposed in the warm weather, and 7 more carefully arranged in the trailers. The scene was one of the most disturbing in Arkansas history. Investigators concluded the motive was Simmons' total inability to accept losing control. Becky planning to leave, the threat of the incest secret resurfacing, old rejections. He decided to destroy everything rather than let anyone else have it. The trial was unusually fast. Simmons refused to present any defense, demanded the death penalty, and waived all appeals. He was convicted on 16 counts of murder and sentenced to death. On June 25, 1990, he was executed by lethal injection, one of the quickest executions from sentencing in modern U.S. history. The property was later burned to the ground. The few surviving distant relatives were left devastated. And now, as we close this long video, let's take a moment to reflect. 3 separate Christmases. 3 broken men. Charlie Lawson in 1929, driven perhaps by shame and madness. Bruce Pardo in 2008, consumed by bitterness and revenge. Ronald Simmons in 1987, possessed by control and evil. All of them turned the season of joy, family, and forgiveness into scenes of unimaginable violence. These stories remind us that real monsters don't always come from the shadows outside. Sometimes they're sitting across the dinner table, hiding behind smiles and family photos. If this compilation disturbed you, and I know it disturbed me writing it, please hit that like button to let me know. Subscribe and turn on notifications. If you want more deep dives into true crime and dark history, and most importantly, drop a comment. Which of these 3 stories hit you the hardest and why? Thank you for sticking with me through this heavy one. Cherish the people in your life this holiday season. Stay safe, stay kind to each other, and I'll see you in the next video. Take care, everyone.